Hey, loungers. Sorry that I'm late, guys. I apologize for that. I was looking at some additional information on what we'll be talking about tonight. So make sure that you guys are hitting the like button on the way in. Guys, we are going to have a fire show tonight. I am really looking forward to this. I definitely been wanting to talk about some of these topics for a very long time, but we are definitely going to get into these things tonight. Definitely appreciate all of you guys for being in the building. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button on the way in. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, we are definitely going to be roasting Rev G, okay, our favorite social worker out here, okay? We're going to take a little bit of time on him. Not too much time, but just a little bit of time on him tonight. We are also going to talk about our favorite therapist, Anti-Afro Svengali against ChatGPT, okay? And some information that has recently come out in regards to her. And something that I felt was so funny that I definitely wanted to share with the sector, okay? And then we are also going to talk about transgender men or transgender women partaking in women's sports, okay? And some of the information that has recently come out regarding a UN report that was recently done in October of 2024. So we are going to be talking about that today. Again, make sure that you guys are hitting the like button on the way in. I do appreciate all of you who have already started to come in the building. Shout out to Trig, shout out to beautiful Bernice, Divine Seven, Damn My Opinion, Defrauding, and some others that are in here. Beautiful. Okay, I think I see everybody. So I appreciate all of y'all. Miss Thangs, she is backstage. She will be coming up on the panel, and we will be having this discussion in regards to these things. Also, I have invited another guest as well. They may or may not be able to come in, but I will be talking about some very hot topics that the person was able to give me in regards to this matter. And this person is a very credible individual. So I will be talking about these things tonight. I'm very, very much looking forward to this. This is a conversation that I've been wanting to have for a couple of years, and I couldn't find a way or an angle to actually have the conversation. So now that I have found a way to do that, I am definitely going to have the conversation today. And, unfortunately, sometimes, everybody is not happy or comfortable with a conversation, but we are definitely going to talk about these things today. But first, we are going to go ahead and start with our favorite therapist, y'all, okay? So again, make sure y'all hit the like button, and let's go ahead and get started, guys.
I can't argue with you. You mad. I can't argue with you. No. Look at you. Look at you. You mad. Look at you. You big man. I'm happy. Leave me alone. I'm happy.
Sway.
Leave me alone. Who is you? Who is you? You ain't nobody. No.
Hey, Carrie. Can you hear me?
Hey, Miss T Free.
Hey, what's going on, girl?
Girl, I'm so happy you going live. It's been so long.
It has. It really has. And I want you guys to know I love every single one of you guys, okay? If I don't drop down and say hi to you, trust me, I have watched your replay. I am in your clouds. I'm doing something behind the scenes or whatever, looking at whatever you've done, okay? But I have a very different lifestyle nowadays that I've had from 2020 to now and everything else, even before then, right? And it's something how God will prepare you for what's in the future. And so what I'm doing now is so profound that, I really have to change a lot of my schedule and change a lot of my time. And I just wanted to take the time tonight to just enjoy you guys and really love on you guys and let you guys know how much I truly, truly appreciate all of you, right? I don't talk to every one of you every day. There's some of you I do, like Carrie, I talk to her most of the time, right? And she knows a lot of what's going on and things that I've been doing. But there's a lot of people that don't get to talk to me too much. And I want you guys to know I am doing absolutely well. My family is doing very well. The grandbaby is almost a year old, guys. Okay.
Wow, time flies.
Can you believe how quickly time has flown by? Like, this little girl is trying to walk, okay, and taking steps, and she's just so bright and so happy and so amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. My mother last night was talking about her to me, and she said, Tanisha, she looks just like you when she was a baby, when you were a baby. And she wanted to compare because I have my baby picture and my brother's baby picture. I got all the archives. My brother has the other ones, but she wanted me to take one of my baby pictures and send it to her so that she can put those side by side as a collage of me and my granddaughter. And I thought that was so touching, right? Like, even though I know that she really does look a lot like me, I mean, I just to hear my mother just acknowledge that and just feel so warmed by it and so moved by it, it just was really amazing. So shout out to my granddaughter. She is almost 10 months old. And child, she
Oh,
be talking, she be walking. She ain't got no time for anything, okay? My daughter, I've been trying to tell her what the old folks be saying about that, okay? And that the old folks be saying that, and a baby is moving so fast that there's another baby, right? And
yeah.
she's like, Mom, don't be saying that. I ain't having no more kids until 3 years or 4 years. They got it planned out, So, and she said, she's going to wait for a few years, which is fine, But ultimately speaking, generally, that's usually what a baby does. A baby will move along very fast because there's another baby coming. Well, my husband does have another daughter that is older than my kids, and she is having a baby. So that's kind of the reason I think that this is going on is because she's
Mm,
having a little cousin that's
yeah.
up too. So congratulations to her, and I'm really excited in the expansion of the family. How have you been doing, Carrie? And then I'm going to get into the comments and check on you guys in just a second.
Girl, I'm really good. I'm getting ready for my little change.
Yeah.
Every day when I'm going to work, I'm just thinking, I can't wait till the end of December.
I know. And I think that there will be a difference in you here on YouTube. I've even said that, right? Just because I talk to you a lot and I already know, because I already know how you are. I just got this feeling that shit's going to ramp up, right?
Bro, I already feel like it is. It's
I
so
think
much.
it has. I think it has. But you're still taking the videos down, but you're not going to do that after that time. So,
I mean, I think I will though. I just like how much it upsets certain people. It
yeah.
doesn't matter. We don't care if you do it. It doesn't matter. I just really enjoy that. I just find it really funny.
I think that's my problem too. Like, honestly, I mean, I get a kick out of like pissing these bitches the fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I really do. I mean, I don't have as much time to do it as I used to, right? So when I do get the time to, chill, I'm gonna take that time. Okay.
The amount of real estate I take up in that one lady's mind is so wild to me because again, I don't pay this woman any attention.
That
And
is facts.
I said something that upset her like a year ago or a few years ago, and she has dedicated hours of her life to looking me up and searching me down. It's just, I find it
Every
funny.
day, though, she's comparing your body to other women in the sector. I'm
I
like,
heard
what is
about
going
that.
on?
I heard about that. I heard she was like, "You don't look better than Verla." I never said I did. Like, what are you doing?
She
Why
was
would
like,
you
you're not
just
going to take
randomly?
Burla shine, and you're not going to take Stargate shine. And I'm like, what kind of 60-plus-year-old woman is sitting around every day thinking about other women's bodies in the sector? Like
She
I
is
promise y'all,
100% cuckoo.
I think
Yeah,
all of y'all are beautiful ass women, okay? I think that y'all are the shit, but I am not comparing y'all bodies to mine. I'm not
right.
caring what, I'm not attracted to it or anything. I think y'all are beautiful, right? But I'm not attracted to y'all. I don't like bitches, I mean, it just is
Yeah,
what it is, right? Now I might compare a couple of you niggas. Okay, I ain't gonna hold you. I might, put a
right.
couple of y'all, and be like, yeah. But the women, I'm not doing that. Okay, so I don't understand.
Well,
I mean,
I
but
heard
I'm
that
gonna
she
give all of
accused
y'all
me of
y'all accolades.
having.
Every single one of y'all are beautiful, and that's
I
what I
heard she accused me of having like a tummy tuck or a butt job or something, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Are you
no,
trying
she
to give
said
me a
that you had a
compliment?"
weight loss. You had a successful weight loss, and that's what.
Which, I mean, that's not true. I've gained weight since I've been on the sector. Like, people have noticed the
Right,
fact and spoken on the fact that I've obviously gained weight.
right,
But she it's like, if I had lost weight, how is that an insult? Losing weight is one of the most impressive things a person can do.
right,
So
right.
if
Absolutely.
your insult to me is that I had a successful weight loss, which isn't true, but like, how, like, ma'am, are you trying really hard to insult me and you just can't help but compliment me because I look that good? Like, is that what's
Word.
happening? Like, it's
I'm
whatever.
I'm saying, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like the weight that I am now is the same weight I was when they met me up in New York, right? When I met
Yeah.
Breakin and Sakim and all them, same weight that I am now, right? But by the time I got there, from the time I had my last child, y'all
Mm-hmm.
don't know how much weight I've gained. Like, shit.
Yeah.
Shit. I can't get rid of this goddamn stomach. Okay, it is what it is. But shit,
Well, I'm trying to figure
I
out,
ain't no big bitch, so
not only can she not just say like you're fat or ugly, because that's just not true. She has to like go, you're not prettier than this other third party, which what do I care? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What do
It's
I
like,
care?
is anybody even thinking about that? But okay, right.
But how are you nursing this victim narrative that I'm harassing you when you're throwing a temper tantrum over the shape of my body? Like, did my body harass you, bitch? Is my body an unfit teacher? Like, what are you
Right. Like,
doing?
which
What
one
are
are
you
we doing
doing?
here?
Why are you trying to convince me that I'm not attractive? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know, but Anti is truly out of her fucking mind. And we are
Yes.
going to get to that tonight because shout out to Stephanie Collins. She sent me some information in regards to some things that she looked up about Anti. Okay. But
Okay.
what actually prompted this, and I'm going to go over this now. What actually prompted this was Rev G. Okay. Because Rev G, let me know if you can hear me well.
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, good. Before I do that, let me go to the comments because I want to
Go,
I want
go.
to acknowledge the comments and everybody in the chat. Hey guys, I appreciate all of you for being in the building. Let me go ahead and speak to all of y'all. Defrauding, you said I'm gonna talk shit about y'all, then walk it backwards when I realize how it looks. Who am I? Okay. Rev G out this motherfucker. That's who you is. Okay. I'm gonna give you Rev G for 500, Alex. Okay. Now, look, guys, I do have some links in the chat. One of them is for the New York Post, and this is regarding transgenderism in sports. Okay. I also have one for DNA Explained in regards to human genetics. We are going to get into some scientific conversations tonight. We're going to get into some actual professional conversations tonight. We are not going to speak from emotions, right? We're going to talk truth and, actual scientific facts tonight. And shout out to Carrie. I definitely wanted her to be a part of this. And beautiful Bernice, I appreciate you. Damn my opinion. I appreciate you. Triggs, appreciate you being in the building. Divine 7, definitely appreciate you. And you're saying hey, everybody's saying hey to everybody. Slander God, definitely appreciate you being in the building as well. Let's see, everybody's saying hi to everybody. Beautiful Bernice, definitely appreciate you. Diggable Logic. Hey, brother. Appreciate you being in the building. Haven't seen you in so long. Shout out to you for being out here today. I know I'll be going live at crazy times, right? Skunk Freaker, what's happening? Appreciate you being in the building as well. Let's see who else we got in the building. Let's see. Everybody just speaking to each other. You said, beautiful, check out Divine's replay. I'll provide the timestamp later. You say, yeah, I need the timestamp. Okay, what happened in there? Okay, I must have missed something. You said, Ray Triggs, always a pleasure to be watching from the clouds. You said, beautiful, don't be fooled. Ray is teaming up with Stefan to take me down. You know what? Thank you, Slander. I appreciate the congrats. Let's see. You said the Chi Ray show. Oh, shit. Thank you, beautiful. Definitely appreciate that. Okay, you said, yo, you back. Okay, you said, just in time, you see. Yup. You said, Ray left the triad to join Destiny's Child. No. Pay attention. You said, DC loving the community wall. You said, that's some for real stalker shit. Okay. You said, what it do? You said, yo, okay, that one hurts, Slander. Off to the clouds. Y'all acted up all fucking ready. You said, Ray, let me chill. You said, I mean, paragraphs, okay? Just Wikipedia entries, okay? That's what she doing. She doing Wikipedia entries out on Carrie. It don't make no goddamn sense. What's up, Knowledge, the Sector Elder? Appreciate you being in the building. You said men don't care about food for child. And niggas don't give a fuck how big or small you are. That
if
is
a man says something about a fupa, like 9 times out of 10, he's gay. Because basically, it's gay men who have this, like, women have to be perfect. You calling women fat and skinny. There's an example here in our sector, but I've always known that a normal straight man is gonna fuck more women than he would turn away, right?
That's a fact. That is definitely a fact. A nigga gonna fuck whatever come his way. You said, beautiful, thank you. Intellectually whooping ass is a full-time job. Okay, it is. You said, sounds great. Hey, Dr. Steele, appreciate you being in the building. Let's see. You said, Carrie. You said, I'm just saying weight loss part, no diss. Okay. You said, Dr. Steele, hello, darling. What's up, Spotums? Appreciate you being in the building. Let me see. Hey, YouTube Unfolded. Appreciate you being in the building, sis. Too big for skinny jeans. Appreciate you, brother, for being in the building. You said, listening from work. Okay, that's what's up, bro. You said, defrauding when you telling ghost stories this week. Yeah, we be looking forward to that shit. Yeah. You said, hey to Divine. And you said, hey to Too Big. And you said, hey to YouTube Unfolded. Okay, so I'm at the bottom of that. Okay. So what prompted this ChatGPT thing that I wanted to share with y'all was Rev G himself. Okay, so let me go over to his page real quick because I want to look for the actual commentary that kind of started this, right? Now, I'm going to read another one too, because I think this one is hilarious, but I really want to get to the one where he was trying to use ChatGPT. Now, as some of y'all know, like Josephine and YM, right? Y'all know that he has been, in the past about month or so, been trying to use ChatGPT to break down every single thing that y'all have said and trying to claim that these things are claiming that that y'all two are the same person. Well, it's clear in the past couple of weeks that y'all have made it very clear to the sector that y'all are not the same person. I think most people already knew this, but, you know, of course, for fools and weirdos like the AFWs or the, you know, all what do they call all fucking weirdos or something?
Right. Yep.
All fucking weirdos. Okay.
Yeah.
According to them, you know, anybody that's associated with them, they all felt like y'all two were the same person, and anybody affiliated with them also wanted to say the same thing. Hold on one second. I got somebody backstage. Let me put up a banner real quick.
I love that banner. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, it's the real Rex.
What's up, Rex? What's up, Rex?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
What's going on? What you want?
I mean, nothing much. I'm sorry. I ain't even pulled up here.
Oh no, you're good. What? Did you want to add to the commentary?
What was y'all talking about?
Okay, so if you don't know what we're talking about, you might want to go back into the chat, right?
And that's why I came up.
You came up for what? To find out what we're talking about?
No, somebody shared the link.
Okay, that's what's up. I appreciate that. Everybody's sharing the link out, but make sure you go down into the chat and just kind of listen in, and you'll see what we're talking about, okay? Because it's some really funny shit we're about to talk about.
All right, and then I'll come back then, okay?
Okay, Rex. All right, you have a good night.
Okay.
All right. All right, so let me get... Okay. Let me get over here to this message right here. Because, again, we're going to get up to where he was saying some things in regards to this, but I really want to get to the ChatGPT part, okay? Because, again, you know, he seems to be taking on what ChatGPT has to say and thinking that that somehow is supposed to be, you know, rule of thumb over what everybody thinks and what everybody feels. And you can just kind of put that, you know, and whatever in there. And perhaps he may be right, or perhaps he may be kind of off, or just putting in whatever he wants to say. But I'm looking for a particular video where he was talking about this. So hold on one second, guys.
Yeah, this background is everything. I love how he's YouTubing while he's at work about being the victim too. I just love it. It's so good.
I'm trying to do my little AI thing lately.
You did your thing on that one.
Yeah, I've been trying to do my little AI thing lately.
Next time, make sure you make it a little more pear-shaped. His body is not that fit.
Yeah, I was thinking about changing it to something like that, but I was just like, fuck it.
No, this one's perfect. Yeah, say that for the next one. This one's perfect. I love it.
Oh man, where is this damn message? I wonder if he took it down in the past. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. So he managed to get 6 likes on it. Okay. Shout out to Rev G. He did this 2 days ago, and he said, I read something that was very disturbing to me and asked ChatGPT to analyze what I read. I stated that the person who wrote it was not well, and this is what ChatGPT stated. You're correct that the behaviors and mindset expressed in the post suggest psychological and emotional struggles. This person appears to be operating from a place of inner turmoil, which manifests in their writing and interactions with others. Here's a deeper look at why their behavior may indicate they are not well. Signs of emotional distress. Fixation on negative expression. They openly admit to using their platform to provoke and harm others, start shit, talk shit, be disrespectful, and be hypocritical on purpose. This reflects a possible underlying anger, resentment, or bitterness that they have not resolved internally. Satisfaction from others' pain. The statement, keep the tears coming, reveals a troubling sense of gratification derived from causing emotional harm. This may indicate a lack of empathy or a projection of their own unresolved pain onto others. Self-justification of harmful behavior. Their belief that anyone they target had it coming, quote unquote, suggests they rationalize their actions as justified, which can be a coping mechanism for avoiding accountability or deeper self-reflection. Now, keep in mind, guys, I'm reading all of this out on purpose, and I want you guys to understand the difference in what I'm reading from you, reading to you, what Rev G said, ChatGPT said, according to some quote unquote quotes that allegedly somebody said in the chat and, you know, somewhere in the sector, as opposed to what ChatGPT said about anti. And we're definitely going to get into this, okay? Then he says, this rigidity can make them blind to the possibility that their actions are harmful, unwarranted, or disproportionate. Emotional isolation. The way they describe their actions point to a sense of alienation or separation from others with little concern for how their words impact relationships. This could stem from feelings of loneliness, mistrust, or a lack of meaningful connections. Dark worldview. Acknowledging their behavior as dark indicates they recognize something unhealthy or destructive within themselves. However, their choice to embrace it rather than challenge or heal from it suggests they may feel trapped in this mindset or believe it's part of their identity. Possible underlying issues, unresolved trauma or pain. Their behavior may stem from past experiences of being hurt, betrayed, or disrespected, leading to a defensive, antagonistic posture towards others. Now, I'm going to leave the rest of this for you guys to read, but there is a whole lot that was said in here.
Did you mean to
any
be projecting it?
context to any specific person or any specific quotes or anything. Okay, there's just like one sentence here, one sentence there, and then there's this long description of what these sentences mean. And I want you guys to see the very stark difference in what was said to ChatGPT regarding an entire post of Anti-Afro and how ChatGPT broke that down. Okay, go ahead, Carrie. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, take your banner down, babe. I think you meant to display the text.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. You were saying look at it. My fault. I apologize. Go on.
No, my bad. If I said look at it, I apologize.
Like metaphorically.
I wasn't trying to do that
Okay.
because it always lags when I try to share the screen and all that stuff. So
okay, just checking.
I'm only sharing a couple of things tonight, but I'm not going to share that. But either way, this is what Rev G said. But I'm going to put a link to this in my description box so you guys can go over there and take a look at it for yourselves and see that I did not, splice or dice anything. I didn't take anything away from what he said. I didn't add anything to what he said. This is what he claimed ChatGPT told him in this entire context based off of one or two quotes, right? As opposed to an entire message or an entire, entry from a person, okay? Now, we're now going to go over Anti-Afro real quick. And what prompted and what was put into ChatGPT in regards to what Anti-Afro said, okay? Now, she said, wow, and she said this 3 weeks ago on her community wall. And again, you guys can go over and take a look at it and you can see for yourselves. She said, wow, a broken swinger egg donor only wishes any one of those 6 baby daddies were like Gerald Palmer. However, a man like Gerald wouldn't settle for a junkie. 99% of Gerald's family hasn't cut him off, and he never missed any of his children's graduations. No one ever tried to take his house or his family, was never forced to live in rat, roach-infested motels. Plus, he had no cars repossessed. Yeah, it's that time of the year where the freaks, males and females, show how angry they are over Gerald having an intact family when they never did. Gerald is an actual professor right now. What about y'all? About you lose your jobs or something. I don't know. She said about your loss your jobs. I don't know what she's trying to say. This time last year, the freaks were signing the same about Gerald and several of us. As a reminder, the broken swinger egg donor was leading that chorus. However, none of that ever came close to going down. Yet the tables have turned in 2024. Count on that one, okay? Now, I want you guys to hear what ChatGPT had to say in regards to that particular message, okay? And I'm going to take a sip of water. Did you have anything to say real quick, Carrie?
I literally don't know what most of that meant. It's like really insane ramblings. What does broken egg donor mean? What does that even mean? Like broken eggs, like, or does she mean you're financially broke or I don't understand what that means. Broken egg donor?
Right. And I think that it's important to understand when you do use ChatGPT that you want to use a full context of what someone has actually said, because that particular message was put into ChatGPT. Shout out to Steph Collins. Okay. And it says that it seems like you're expressing frustration.
Right.
And reflecting on a contrast between Gerald Palmer's life and the challenges others are facing. The comparison between Gerald's stable, intact family and the difficulties faced by certain people, like financial instability, broken families, or lack of support, is quite vivid. You're also pointing out that these individuals have tried to undermine Gerald, but he has remained strong and successful, maintaining his position despite their criticism. Your message reflects a sense of resilience as well as a recognition of changing circumstances in 2024, suggesting that the tables have shifted in favor of those who were once criticized or looked down upon. If you'd like to elaborate further on any specific part of this or explore it in a different way, feel free to share. Okay, now I want you guys to finish listening to the questions that were asked. Is this writer dangerous? Based on the text provided, there isn't enough information to defend. Now, I want you guys to hear the unbiasedness of what was said here compared to what Gerald claimed was said, right? Based on the text provided, there isn't enough information to definitively label the writer as dangerous. The tone does come across as confrontational, bitter, and filled with resentment, but it primarily expresses frustration about personal grievances and a sense of superiority over others. While the writer may be expressing anger towards specific individuals, there is no direct evidence of violent or harmful intentions towards others in this text. Now, notice how unbiased that was, but how on point that was, right? Because she most definitely does have this sense of superiority over everyone, right? She's angry and frustrated by her own personal biases, not any real legal reasons or real reasons, but her own personal biases towards us, right? Okay, now let's go on. However, it is important to note that extreme expressions of anger or frustration can sometimes signal deeper emotional or psychological issues. If these feelings are persistent or escalate, they could potentially lead to dangerous behaviors. Let me go ahead and change up this this background, okay? Because
I was really enjoying this one.
ChatGPT is whooping her ass right now. Okay, let's go ahead. Because you know ChatGPT is kicking that bitch's ass right now. Okay.
Hello, FBI. Take free assaulted me with imagery.
What is their names? Chat. What's their last name? GPT. Where do they live?
Where did she hit you? In my feelings?
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Okay, all right. So it would be, okay, so let me go back.
Okay.
If these feelings are persistent or escalate, they could potentially lead to dangerous behaviors. It would be essential to consider the broader context of the writer's actions, their history, and whether their words are being followed by any actual harmful behavior. If there are concerns about someone being dangerous or violent, it's always important to take those concerns seriously and if necessary. Should the writer, okay, now here's the next question. Should the writer consider a career in mental health? Based on the tone and content of the message, it doesn't appear that the writer is expressing the qualities typically associated with a career in mental health. Mental health professionals are expected to demonstrate empathy, emotional regulation, and a non-judgmental attitude towards others. The writer's message, however, suggests frustration, anger, and a sense of superiority, which might indicate that they have some personal challenges to work through before considering a career in mental health. That was an ass kick off the ropes type. Shout out to ChatGPT for that one. Yeah. That was a kick to the jaw, child. That was a kick to the jaw. Now, she continues to say, if the writer is genuinely interested in pursuing a career in mental health, it would be important for them to first focus on self-reflection, emotional growth, and possibly therapy or counseling. Being in a stable and emotionally healthy state would be critical for anyone in a helping profession, especially in mental health, where empathy, patience, and the ability to support others in distress are key qualities. Things that we have been saying about Anti for months now, right? Where we've been talking about her, erratic behavior, how the things that she does not reflect what a person that holds a mental health, that holds a position in mental health care should not be, possessing. These are the kinds of things. What you think so far, Carrie?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is like, it seems like a person who's a reverend, if he was looking for a source on how he should feel about people or treat people, it seems like he would pick up his so-called holy book, the Bible, not a machine like ChatGPT. So let's start there. But secondly, to say that anti has a feeling of superiority, on one hand might be true, but if she really felt superior, who is she trying to convince with these posts? Like, who is, when she makes a post to say that I'm only sexy because I lost weight, or I look good but not as good as the bird, you know what I mean? Like, who is she trying to convince me that I'm not worth as much, that I'm not smart and worthy? Is she trying to convince herself, her audience? When she does a post to try to argue that Rev G is the successful one and we're the ones unsuccessful, who is she trying to convince? Herself? You? Me? The public? Like, these don't seem like, if she really felt, because for example, I feel superior to certain people, and so I won't engage with them. I won't be brought down to their level. I'm not having a discussion with them. I can't be bothered. Why would I be continuously making posts about my superiority over someone unless I was deeply insecure? What do you think?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think that it's the fact that she is so insecure, clearly, that she tries to portray that she's telling you that this is what's going on, but really she's trying to convince herself, that, these things are right. Simply because if this was actual reality, this would give her a sense of comfort, right?
Yeah,
But
well, and much like with you, she's been calling me fat for like 4 years now, and I've never felt the need to argue because I know what I look like. Like, I'm not gonna keep making you know what I mean? Like, now that she's seen me, she just moves on to the next insult. So it's just like she's always it's like that what they call it, narcissism, where they prop themselves up because they're so inadequate. It's really almost sad.
Yeah, it is. It really is sad because it's clear that it's something mentally going on with her. You know what I mean? And that it's unfortunate that they, Rev G always calls her ass to the carpet, or she ends up calling him to the carpet, and we can use their own tactics against them. You know what I mean? Since y'all love to use ChatGPT, let's hear what ChatGPT has to say about y'all, right? But we're actually going to use what you said in full context. We're not going to put one little sentence or one little word and get this whole explanation of shit. No, we're actually going to get what you said, and they're going to break down what you said. And I'm going to finish getting into that in just a second. So let me go ahead.
Let me just add, unlike Rev G and AAS, neither you nor me is constantly seeking validation and kudos or whatever. Like, I didn't have to found an organization to be a proud warrior of some dumb made up shit. Like, I don't give a shit if ChatGPT or the next bitch thinks I'm smart, funny, kind. I don't give a fuck. That's you always trying to fucking prove to strangers. Like, who gives a shit? So it's fun to turn their own medicine back on them, but they're mistaken by assuming that you or I are as insecure as they are. Like, why would I give a shit?
Right, exactly. And it's clear that, like I said, with we're just pointing out the facts here, that these are the things that they do. Right. Which, clearly shows that there's something underlying going on, and ChatGPT is the one telling you.
I would add to that too, T Pre. I think that you or I would have enough introspection that if we were so weird as to go trying to find a computer online to agree with our own biases, I think that you or I wouldn't wait for the other person to run our shit through it too. Like, I'm pretty sure if you or I, for whatever reason, ever decided to ChatGPT our enemy speech, right? Some selected speech we picked out to confirm our own biases, I'm pretty sure you or I would be like, let me run some of my own shit through there.
Right.
Before I go public with this, right? Let me see if this is really objective or fair. Like, is this something I really want to publish? Like, let me think this through. Right.
Facts. Spot, you said that picture is so accurate. You said LOL diggable logic. What's up, CB? I appreciate you being in the building. You said spot them all. that's missing is some toys on the desk. You know what? I should have put toys on the damn desk. That'll be next time.
Well, and have a little minimized TikTok screen. That's like he hurried up and minimized.
With some kids or some white kids.
Right.
What's up, BT? Definitely appreciate you being in the building. He said, it's funny how ChatGPT says everything he already said years ago. Exactly. Don't it sound like it's repetitive of something that he has said as opposed to what ChatGPT really said, especially when you compare what ChatGPT actually did say about anti, right?
You know,
and we're
he's edited
into that in just a second.
Yeah, he took out anything ChatGPT said that would have made it more objective. And furthermore, you know, you or I could these people claim to be professionals, but it's like obviously ChatGPT.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Obviously, ChatGPT is only going to analyze what you choose to put into it. So you or I could get a little text of us cussing somebody out and get this skewed interpretation of our words. But one thing that's different is both you and I do a ton of content on our channels that's not ratchet. That is us exploring our interests or news stories we find entertaining. Whereas those two individuals, there's nothing positive on their page. There's nothing you could find on their page that will reflect well upon them. And that's simply just not true for our side of the sector.
That's a fact. That's a fact. We can always find something to talk about, you know, that's in our interest, you know, that's within our interest outside of the sector, you know, and they can't. They have not, they have failed to do that in a period of years. I mean, we're talking 7 or 8 years now. You know, that they've
and that's for everybody on our side. Slander does his movie things, drama did the sports. Like all of us enjoy a certain amount of fuckery in social media, but there's nothing positive on anti. Not one thing could you pull up that would make her look anything but crazy.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So I'm just going through the chat and just making sure I'm not missing anything. You said the therapist needs a therapist. Okay. You said, oh, she definitely thinks her raggedy asshole don't stink. That supremacy shit is more ways than one way. And that's a fact. And I think that's the biggest thing. And it's funny how a robot can pick that same shit up. Like,
yeah.
You said she just
surface level. It's not very deep. I'm just gonna say, like, you wouldn't catch Neil deGrasse Tyson on YouTube. Like, you know who's smart? Me. I'm smart. You know,
right? Like, look at me. Don't forget about me. Like,
right.
Weird as fuck, ain't it? Don't make no damn sense. Okay. So let's see here. I think I'm trying to get through all the comments. He said, "No,
you know who's successful? Me.
Me. I'm more successful than her. Like,
yeah. You think you look good, but you don't look better than this other person. Like, what? Are you okay?
Like, do you like her? Like, what is going? You must like both of them bitches. That's what's going on.
Right. And if you go compare my looks to somebody, compare them to your own. Why are you pulling up third parties that have like? Okay.
You can't even compare it to yourself. Let's see why. Let's see why real quick while I'm going through these comments. Okay,
you're not as pretty as Naomi Campbell, bitch.
I'm about to show y'all why anti is mad. Okay.
I can't argue with you. You mad? I can't argue with you. No. Look at you. Look at you. You mad? Look at you. You big man. I'm happy. Leave me alone. I'm happy.
Sway.
Leave me alone. Who is you? Who is you? You ain't nobody. No.
Yeah, that cracks
That's why she's mad. Okay. So that's how she built. Okay. That's why.
It's so crazy that the AI can make their little head turn and do all those gestures. I mean,
yeah.
And it's just
no, I've been fucking with this crazy. AI lately, just doing some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Hey, Happy Life, I appreciate you being in the building. Damn demon. Okay, you said there's a positive thing on her channel that not many years left on the clock. Okay,
ooh, yikes.
Because Neil knows and that's a fact though. You said because Neil knows the limit of his own intelligence, these screwballs don't. Okay, just saying. He said, Happy Life, if you start feeling cyberbullied by slander, let me know and I'll time his ass out. No. He said, okay, Ray, thanks. Y'all is not getting ready to get on my nerves tonight, okay? Okay, y'all not. You said can't argue with anyone that has made up in their mind to lie, and that's a fact, okay? Just saying. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and finish up what she says, and then we're going to get into a little bit more of Rev G, okay? And then we're going to get into our commentary and what the topic for tonight is. So it says, so the last part that we left off was being in a stable and emotionally healthy state would be critical for anyone in a helping profession, especially in mental health care, especially in mental health, where empathy, patience, and the ability to support others in distress are key qualities. In short, while it's not impossible for someone with personal challenges to pursue a career in mental health, it would require significant self-work and emotional development first. And then the question was, is this writing logical? The writing seems emotionally charged and somewhat fragmented, which makes it less logical in the sense of clear, reasoned argumentation. It conveys strong feelings of frustration, superiority, and there go that word again, and resentment again, and frustration again, but doesn't follow a structured or coherent logical flow. Instead, the focus is more on venting personal grievances and contrasting the writer's situation with those they are criticizing. For example, the writer contrasts Gerald Palmer's success with the perceived failures of others, but doesn't provide concrete examples or reasons for why these individuals are in those situations. There are sweeping generalizations, such as labeling people as freaks or stating none of that ever came close to going down, without explaining what that, quote unquote, refers to or how things have actually changed. While the message might make sense emotionally, it lacks the type of logical coherence that would make it a structured argument. Okay, now there's a little bit more, but let's break that down, because again, when you listen to what Rev G claimed was said, right, by ChatGPT, it was all this fluff of stuff and this stuff that would kind of like convey whatever he's trying to portray to the sector, right?
Yeah,
but
he's lying.
It's not any actual evidence or taking any actual words in any actual context or quotes that came from an actual person, and then making, giving this as an example of why this doesn't make logical sense, right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. We would call that like analysis, right? It doesn't have any like, here is why I'm saying that. There's no, it's just the conclusion one would draw, and that does contrast sharply with the examples you just provided.
It also contrasts with something that a therapist would do, right? Where they have to take specific notes, and they have to be very clear about the notes that they're taking and the things that they're saying, because they have to portray a certain, they have to convey a certain picture to the psychiatrist. They have to portray a certain picture to the other medical providers around them, because if they don't, then they might be, what they're doing might be very detrimental to their client, right? If they're not portraying a true picture of what and who this person is and what they've experienced with this person through battery testing of this person, they may not come to a logical conclusion of what's really going on, and therefore cannot render the proper treatment to them. Okay, so that is very important for a therapist to have those kinds of qualities. Okay. So
Bernice raises a good point. She says he's not saying why these people are behaving this way towards him. Like, what did he do? And I definitely agree with her there. And also, just there's no rationale for why he would be comparing himself to us. Like, none of us has expressed any desire to compete with him as far as success or careers or families. So why are you trying to, as a therapist, why wouldn't you be running your own race? Why are you comparing yourself to other people?
Right. Hi, HD Spivey. I appreciate you being in the building. You said, I stopped watching AAS channel years ago. She's nuts. There's so many people. And I would love for her to one day just sit back and look at her own channel and see how she used to have thousands of views. I'm talking like 3,000-4,000 people would watch her videos, right? Then she went down to a couple hundred, maybe 500, 600, 700 people would watch. Now she might get 100 people to watch a show, and she might get 7 likes on it.
Yeah,
that's real nigga shit.
and
then
how
like,
many of those are just her? Because
yeah, exactly. I was going to say how many of those likes and those views are her and her troll accounts and Breakin's troll accounts and Rev G's troll accounts and whatever. Because Liz Martin is anti, okay, and you know, a living queen, they're all anti, you know. So she might have a Professor Cupcake and a Mashonda Knight, you know, and that's it. But you know, there really aren't many people that follow her anymore.
And I imagine that outside of the time that they spend making this content and going over to Remix's chat or the couple of little places where they're still welcome, I think that they spend hours a day on the phone talking about how they're better than the people in the sector, which again, you know, I've had more than one therapist tell me that comparison is the death of joy. Like you shouldn't go around. It's very psychologically unhealthy to compare yourself to other people, especially when you don't really know those people. You're going to be making all these weird assumptions, right? So the amount of time that these alleged therapists go, oh no, you're not this, but we are. It's just it flies in the face of anything that would bring joy into one's life.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And it seems like somebody who is a therapist, right? I'm not a therapist, so I can't really speak for this, but I would say that someone who is a therapist should take a lot of time with self-care to make sure that they are, you know, kind of keeping up with their own mental health, because they take on a lot of things, right? They take on a lot of people's problems, a lot of people's issues and stuff like this. And they need to find time to decompress from a lot of these things. So that they're not holding in, you know, all this stuff, you know what I mean? And just kind of spilling it out to people. And, you know, so it's obvious that these are things that she doesn't do.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. And then I'm gonna make one more point. Then I know we got a lot to talk about tonight, but I just wanted to say that it's also shocking for professional counselors and therapists to spend so much time every day doing things that they find to be unenjoyable, like listening to content that offends them. And you know, me personally, I work really hard on my happiness and my mental health. And I surround myself with people who I admire and I enjoy. And even the people I argue with for fun on here, like Pills, like I enjoy laughing at myself and roasting in it. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy that. But to sit there, and like I said, I spend my time watching content for people I admire, that I want to be like, or I admire their qualities. I can't just the level of mental unwellness it would take to spend hours every day thinking that you're better than a group of people and watching them just to boost yourself up by putting them down it's bizarre. Like it's not just unhealthy. It's so far outside of the norm of what anybody would do.
Facts. That's a fact. You said anyone calls the office today, tell them I'm out at a meeting. Okay. Thank you. Hit the like button and subscribe, guys. Thank you. Hey, Make a Change. Appreciate you being in the building. Okay, let's finish up this ChatGPT, and then I'm going to do Rev G, and then we'll get into the commentary. All right, so the last part, it says, it reads more like a stream of thought driven by frustration rather than a well-reasoned logical analysis of the situation. I have been, and then she said, is the writer happy? And then she said, the writer doesn't appear to be happy. The tone of the message suggests frustration, resentment, and perhaps a sense of superiority, but there is little indication of genuine joy or contentment. The writer focuses more on highlighting perceived failures or shortcomings of others and contrasts them with their own success, which can reflect a sense of bitterness rather than happiness. The language used, such as the quote-unquote freaks and a broken swinger, egg donor, suggests anger or negative emotions directed towards others, which further implies that the writer may be feeling hurt or upset rather than happy. The message seems driven by a need to vent or assert dominance rather than to express fulfillment or satisfaction. So based on the tone and content and content, it seems the writer is not feeling happy, but rather a mix of frustration and perhaps a desire to assert their superiority over others. Is the writer delusional? The writer does not appear to be outright delusional, but there are elements in the writing that may suggest a distorted perception of reality. Delusions typically involve strong beliefs that are disconnected from reality, often without any logical or factual basis. The writer's message, while emotionally charged and filled with resentment, seems to reflect a more intense personal bias or frustration rather than a clear break from reality. For example, the writer's tone suggests that they feel superior to others, particularly Gerald Palmer's critics, and that the events they describe, like the supposed failures of others, have somehow played out in a way that serves as proof of their own righteousness. Ain't that deep, y'all? This could indicate a distorted perspective as the writer seems to focus on their own success and others' failures without fully considering the broader context or potential nuances of those situations. However, this does not necessarily equate to being delusional. And I wanted to make sure that I put that part in it because I wanted it to be clear how clear ChatGPT was with this and that they were not biased with all these extra innuendos that we want to say and that we want to feel, right?
Right.
But that it actually gave an unbiased opinion based off of what Anti said in full context, okay? Full context. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the chat. I see y'all talking about it, but go ahead, you let me know what you think, and then we'll go on to this Rev G part.
No, I have nothing to add. That ChatGPT is a beast. I would hate to see what this shit is like 10 years from now. God damn.
I know, right? Like that shit gonna be reading people's minds, all kinds of stuff.
Well, you
What's
know,
up,
I think
KKC?
it's entirely
Appreciate
possible.
you being in the building. What's
I
up,
think
KKC?
it's entirely possible that 10 years from now, like we won't need therapy. Like we'll just be able to write a diary and the diary will be able to like help us, you know, recognize patterns and make improvements in our lives. I think there's already some of that going on, but shit.
Yeah, that was an ass hand in a lifetime. That was shit. I had to do a whole thing on that. Like, like you whooped her ass on that shit. That was nuts. But anyway, let's get over to this Rev G thing real quick because I do want to get on to the other topic.
Let me just say, AAS about to make a post allegedly from ChatGPT. It's gonna be like, T Pre is ugly and Carrie's fat, and you're stupid and poor,
and you got your house foreclosed and you lost your Section 8. That's
and
what happened.
You don't have a car and it got repossessed. ChatGPT said you a broke basic bitch.
You're a broken swinger. That's what you are.
Whatever the fuck that means.
I don't know. You said Anti gonna sue y'all motherfuckers. You know it.
She already suing us. We all the way up to the imaginary Supreme Court in this bitch.
Listen, I've allegedly supposed to been sued. I was supposed to have the Attorney General kicking the door, waving the full floor, right. All that shit. None of that has happened.
Bugsy over there typing up his rebuttal right
still
now.
Here, okay. Unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot going on, right? You know, but anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up what Rev G said because I found this so funny because you know how like he's been crying lately about, you know, people calling people the Social Security and all this other shit, and they finding people jobs and all this shit, but they've been doing this shit for years, y'all. We all know how long these motherfuckers been doing this shit. They've been doing this shit for so long that they actually started this in the Umar sector. Everybody who's been here for as long as people like Speakeasy, myself, you know, some of the others that have been around forever, you know, y'all know Keeper, Brown Sugar Baby, y'all know Make a Change, y'all know y'all are day ones around here. Y'all know damn well they started that shit with trying to contact Umar Johnson's family members, trying to contact anybody that was connected to him, and if they couldn't get their way, they were trying to shut down people's businesses for having him at the location. It was all kinds of stuff going on with them. They were going out of their way, even down to alleged vandalism of locations where Umar was supposed to be. Now, that's an alleged thing, okay? But we know that definitely happened. We just don't know if the AFWs were responsible for it. But it looks like it, okay? But anyway, there are so many things that they've done, But now that the tables have turned and all their little friends and minions and stuff have walked away and nobody's fucking with them anymore, and they're just kind of sitting on this island by themselves, right? Along with, a couple of scragglers who just don't have nowhere else to go. This is kind of what's going on. And now they want to complain and cry about calling people's jobs and all this shit. But I'm going to tell y'all how much they can't help themselves in being who they are, okay? So Rev G says 2 days ago, it's deeply disturbing to see comments like this being shared about you, encouraging others to contact someone's workplace with the sole purpose of getting them fired isn't about accountability.
What?
It's about targeted harassment, labeling someone quote unquote unhinged and plotting to damage their livelihood crosses a serious line. What?
Wow.
There's an important difference between legitimate claims and this type of behavior. Legitimate complaints focus on professional conduct, are supported by evidence. Oh, like the spliced and diced videos that y'all sent to Carrie Ann's job? Oh, okay.
Wow.
And are handled through appropriate channels with the intent of resolving an issue. This, however, is none of that. It's a public, malicious attempt to harm someone's reputation and career based on personal grievances.
Wow.
Not facts or workplace-related concerns, which is what happened with you, Rev G, when after Carrie Ann, talked about your TikTok is when you wanted to go after her job, right?
Right.
Which had nothing to do with work-related concerns, nothing to do with professional behavior, but all what? Personal grievances and not facts, right? Okay. He says, disagree with me, challenge my ideas, that part of healthy discourse, but trying to tear someone down through smear campaigns, the way that y'all put up Carrie Ann's students, right? All over that YouTube page, or false claims where you claimed Carrie Ann was trying to harm her students, right? All those false claims, Rev G, right? Isn't acceptable. Oh, is it? So finally, the AFWs agree with us, right? When we had the blackout meeting, right? And we talked about blacking out this type of behavior in the sector, that we weren't going to accept this type of shit. Look who has come to the fucking light on this motherfucking shit. Ain't this a bitch? Then he says, we can do better. Can y'all? Because it's only y'all that's been doing this, Rev G. Harassment like this says far more about those engaging in it than the person being targeted. Isn't that fucking so, sir? Harassment like this, like what y'all did to Carrie Ann, what y'all done to Dee Darrell, what y'all done to me, what y'all done to Triggs, what y'all done to multiple people in this sector. Drama, right? Harassment like this says far more about those engaging in it than the person being targeted. You are so right, Rev G. Let's focus on constructive conversation instead of destruction. See, the constructive conversation, sir, is going to have to start with you, where you have finally acknowledged that this behavior is despicable. But the only people that have been actually engaging in this behavior is y'all. Y'all are the only ones. Look around the sector and see where anybody else has done this, where anybody else has contacted your job or any of this stuff outside of you or your people or people that were on your side. Even with Shakem. Shakem was fucking with y'all. Let's go there. So you can't talk about him, right? Because he was on your side, Rev G. Okay? So the conversation will start with y'all's acknowledgement of y'all's behavior. See, when people start putting up little comments like this little one that's up that you tried to post, right, as evidence of this fear that you have, where it says, hey, have you written XXX University yet? I've been posting his antics to their Google Maps page. Just wondering, it may get him off your heels. Could even get him fired. For real, for real. Hope this stops soon. He's unhinged. So, all of the things that this person said is actually true, right? That you have been unhinged out here encouraging others to contact people's workplace for the sole purpose of getting them fired, not because they've actually done something wrong, but because you have personal biases to these people, because you just don't like them, right? And 2 days ago, you wanted us to have a talk about this and to come to a come to Jesus moment with each other in regards to this. But then you turned around and you couldn't even help yourself. You couldn't even help yourself. Let me go to what you said. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. No, it's not this one. Because you said something else not even that long after that. And it don't make no motherfucking sense. And it was about defrauding. Shout out to defrauding. Because I know that you just hate that this man is virtually slapping the shit out of you with the facts, right? You just can't take it that that's happening. So you go right back and revert back to the very same person that you've always been. Hold on 1 second. Oh, he must have took it down. So there was another message that he put where he was talking about defrauding and how he said that, well, I wonder what the U.S. Military would think about this person and what they're having to say. I wonder what they would think. I wonder what they would feel if they knew that this is what this person is saying about a soup sandwich. That's what it was. About a soup sandwich. Let me go to that.
Dude, imagine trying to victimize yourself because somebody says soup sandwich. Imagine that.
Right.
Like,
it didn't make no sense.
He
was feeling some type of way about that, and he just wonders how this would what they would think if he reported to them that this person was saying that this person is portraying themselves as this great military person all over the internet, like anybody ever does that, you know what I'm saying, except him, and that there's something about a soup sandwich, and this is what he feels should be reported to this person's, but
I can imagine
after you wanted us to have a conversation about reporting people to their employers, but that's exactly who you are, sir. That's what
imagine at the Pentagon, the Secretary of Defense gets a phone call. Hello, sir. It's an urgent matter. Yes. What is it, sir? Well, one of our servicemen has called someone a slur. What was it? Was it the N-word? No. Was it the F word? No. The worst one of all, sir. Soup sandwich. Deploy the missiles.
Girl, it don't make no damn sense. It really don't make no sense, child. You said, and Verla going to sue Miss Thanks for identity theft and defamation of character. You know what? You said they said good guys were the villains. Boy, was we wrong. Yeah. I've been trying to say that for years, and people used to treat me a certain way because I fucked with them, right? Not understanding that it wasn't us. We weren't the problem. You said, fam, AAS sounds like a frustrated Hollywood screenwriter, dramatic as fuck, okay? You said, no, you need to be exposed, okay? You said, defrauding charlatan ain't no telling. You said, they need to know about what he is doing on here, okay? You said, but, I mean, weird, okay? Personal grievances, exactly. You said, you mean,
okay,
what you say? No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I read the post where Rev G was describing his heroic military acts. And I've always been suspicious of his claims because those of us who have served know that if something heroic goes down on a base, for the most part, everybody in the unit gets an award, gets a medal.
Mhm.
So if there was a fire that happened, like everybody attached to the unit, like that fought that fire, will get that medal, right? It's generally how it goes. And medals, you know, the military looks to give out medals. They have to give out medals, so they'll be looking. You know, like a lot of people who tell the truth about their service will say that they got medals for things they didn't really necessarily have very much to do with, right?
Mhm.
So, and I mean, some people do earn medals, but for the most part, it's kind of a paperwork kind of thing. And so it's a couple of things about that story that always seemed odd to those of us who have served in the Navy or the Air Force. Like this idea, he described how they needed help carrying water. And it's just like, we're not exactly sure what that means. Cause like, did they have buckets of water? Airstrips usually have hoses and there's well qualified like firemen around. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so what do you mean carrying water? Was it a lake and a buckets? Like, what does that even mean? And can you use water on an electrical fire or an oil fire? Like, how involved was he with putting out this fire? Because the things he say don't seem to jive up with reality. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying it doesn't sound familiar to me as somebody who served the way he describes this. So I finally read him describing this at length in his post where he's boasting about his own heroic deeds, which some people would argue in and of itself is like not really in good taste. Right.
Right.
But
Mhm.
if you're going to brag about your own heroic deeds, like he finally describes it. Now he didn't discover the fire like he said before. He came out, people were already fighting the fire and he just simply helped. And then he goes on to describe how his XO thanked him, and he makes it sound like he was thanking him as an individual and not like his whole unit. Like, you know, they would have a ceremony where they were thanked for basically it's really the military fucked up. They caused this fire, and instead of admitting they cost lives and did something terrible, they want to turn it into a heroic act where these people put out the fire that never should have started. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so the way that he brags about his own heroic deeds is already in very poor taste. And when he finally told the story, you come to realize that he's been kind of exaggerating what he did and how he participated in it.
Definitely.
Because nobody's
As he always does.
nobody's single-handedly putting out an airplane fire. And I just don't understand this assertion that he used water. Like, that just doesn't make sense. So maybe the plane was made out of wood and there's something I'm misunderstanding, but I don't know about putting out grease, oil, or electrical fires with water. Like, I don't understand what the fuck he's talking about and why they would have to carry water to an airstrip. Like, what does that mean?
Right. Like, what exactly do you mean, sir? You expect us to just have all this, like, all about the stupid stuff that you say, but like,
Well, it makes me wonder if it's one of those things like, did he really participate in putting out this fire? Because the things he's saying doesn't make sense. And again, those of us who have served know how medals go. Like, they just, when something like that happens, they just be sprinkling medals around. I mean, respectfully, no disrespect to anybody that earned a medal, but everybody
Right.
that's a veteran knows this. So the
Right.
fact that he can't accurately describe something, it's something, you know, it just sounds a little fishy. I'm just going to say that.
And then also, I want to point out that, there was a time where he and Anti had engaged in talking about your military status, had engaged in talking about Brown Sugar Baby's husband's military status, her military status. There was so many times that they had, disrespected, you guys.
Oh, that's a good point.
So, again, I'm just kind of sick of Gerald Palmer acting like, he's some kind of victim.
Right.
And that, he doesn't fully engage in this kind of behavior, right? Like,
thank you for pointing that out, because you could hear I'm even uncomfortable just coming out and saying it sounds like he's lying. It's just like,
right.
It's one of those things, but you're right. They've disrespected so many other people's military service to then now try to act like a special snowflake who can't be criticized or questioned, when the things he said about other people's service is really deplorable.
Absolutely deplorable, especially when he was talking about, when they were talking about Brown Sugar Baby's husband, you know what I mean? And how he had stolen valor and all this.
Well,
other
I think
stuff.
what he said about defrauding was worse. He's putting down everybody that's a reservist and making light of their sacrifice, calling him part-time military. I mean, I just can't with them. They're really disgusting people.
They really are. They're just horrible people. You said, Make a Change says, I thought Rev G said he was done. And he did say that, right? But then he's sitting up here constantly making parodies. He had a parody about pills the other day and the tires and all this shit. But if pills clap back at him, then he gonna be,
no, I can explain that.
Do me like this, you know what I mean?
What Make a Change doesn't understand is Rev G is always done after he throws a punch, so that if you punch him back, you're attacking somebody who wasn't fighting. So he punches you, or he tries to, he misses, and then he says, "I'm done fighting." And then all the time that you attack him back, he's the victim. And then he punches you, and then he doesn't want to fight anymore. So you see, whenever it's time for him to hit you, he's fighting. Whenever it's time to get hit back, he's a victim. I hope that clears things up.
Slander says, I heard all he did was throw a toy fire truck at the fire.
Well, now we finally know why he keeps toys in his pocket. All right.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. He said, I guess Rev G made a change. Okay. He said a few pots of water aren't putting a real dent in a fire of that caliber. Okay. He said he's a male verless. Child. Absolutely. He said nobody cares. Yep, he sounds like it to me. Disgusting, all that fuck around. He said he started with my service first. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you come for him, then it's, he's the victim. He said, yeah, that shit's was crazy. And you wonder the fuck why, okay? You said he doesn't care about his service. He had to go find his military stuff in the garage in a dirty box, okay? Sitting up under all the D-Derail's receipts. That's what he had to say.
Well, and my thing is this, right? Even if you could put out an electrical and gas fire with water, like let's just say that makes sense. Where are you carrying the water from? Like your bathroom sink in the barracks? Like, where is this tub of water you're carrying water from? Enough water to put out an airplane? And why, if it's an airstrip, why wouldn't they have hoses with actual flame retardant? It's an airstrip. Airstrips are designed to fight fires. Like, why would you have to carry water to an airstrip? Like, what are you saying, man?
Mm-hmm. Now, don't they already have that readily available?
Of course they do. It's a fucking airstrip. I could see if the plane crashed in a field, then maybe you would have to figure out how to get some flame retardant there. But why would you be carrying water to an airstrip? Make it make sense.
Facts. Even Diggable saying, as ex-military, facts. I refuse. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to play a quick timer, Carrie, and then we're going to get into the next topic here.
Okay, good, because I got to pee.
Got a lot. Okay, go ahead. I need some water, too. So. Right, good. So I contacted Identity Withheld the same day, so I got the date even. Child, that is crazy. Yeah, you said you have a recording of when he went on Binary's channel and allowed Binary to bring up your service, and then he played into it and assisted him in disparaging your service. Exactly. So he always does this kind of shit and then cries about it and acts like he's been victimized by you. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, guys, and then we are going to get into the next topic. Again, make sure that y'all are hitting the like button. Let me see what I want to play. Let me fuck with Breaking the Culture real quick.
You could just completely try to bash my name in so that when I finally did talk, that whatever I said, people were like, be side-eyeing me. And the thing is that it don't really matter with the sector thing, but the people that I know certain things about, and those are the people that really would matter. And they would know if I'm telling the truth or not. It would be another Nikki situation. You're the one that was worried about people being recorded. You know, Sultan dragged her ass about it.
Know what I'm gonna do another live. Let's get messy for a second. Breaking has a file. This is how obsessive this motherfucker is. Breaking has files and drop boxes on everybody. If you listen to her talk, you can believe it. She actually saves recordings on a lot of motherfuckers in the sector. She puts them on files. She puts them in drop boxes on clouds. She got one on everybody. She got one on I. She got one on. Probably got one, tried to get one on me. She got one on Anti. She got one on several people in the sector. Several people in the motherfucking sector. Y'all don't believe me? I like to show receipts. I'm not going to show anybody's shit in the sector, but Little Knockout Media got one too. And I don't give a shit about him. He ain't in our sector. So here you go, folks. And y'all know that ain't mine because I don't watch that motherfucker. That's one of a few things that I got from this break-in. And she does have one on Anti. Now, if you don't believe me, click on that shit. And
I'll tell you why I say it's worse. I'll say this. I'll tell you why. So I've had CPS called on me, right? And I've had APS called on me, CPS called on me, DTPP, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
No one reached out to her kid. Nobody now, granted, do I know who her and her children and her entire family is? Absolutely. I know who your brother is. I know who your mom is. I know who your dad is. I know who your siblings are. I know who your aunts and uncles are. I know who your kids are. Of course I know who you. I know your bitch. I know where you work. I know where you live. I know what your shifts are. What do you want to know? What do you want me to tell you that I know?
She has shifts. Oh, you mean like? Oh, I see. So she
bitch,
works
I know
once a
when
day.
you clock in. I know when you clock out.
And clock out.
Sure
Okay.
do. I know your entire. I know who you are. Why wouldn't I know who you are? I did my research.
Because he really been out here being messy. And that ain't even half of what that ain't even nothing. Like, on some real shit. Him recording propane ain't shit. It's way worse shit. I'm just curious to see if he gonna tell it himself. Because he really been out here being messy. And that ain't even half of what that ain't even nothing. Like, on some real shit. Him recording propane ain't shit. It's way worse shit. I'm just curious to see if he gonna tell it himself. Because he really been out here being messy. And that ain't even half of what that ain't even nothing. Like, on some real shit. Him recording propane ain't shit. It's way worse shit. I'm just curious to see if he gonna tell on himself.
My. That shit never fucking ages, man. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the next topic for tonight, because I've got a few things that I want to talk about. I'm first going to share my screen with this one because I think that this is actually pretty important to discuss. And I want to put up a different background. Because we're going to be talking about a lot in regards to transgender women and some of the things that have affected actual biological women. Okay. And because there has been this thing where transgender women and people that advocate for transgender women have tended to do, and it's not everybody. I want to make that very clear as well. That I don't believe it's every transgender that is doing this. I don't believe there is a actual agenda amongst all transgenders of this, okay? But I do think that there are, unfortunately, some people within the community that have these beliefs, and these beliefs are very harmful to biological women. And I think that these are things that need to be brought up. And I really didn't know how I wanted to actually bring this up, but I did know I wanted to have this conversation. And now that this information has actually come out with the United Nations as an actual report that was done at the end of October, which was actually a report that was it was a response to two other reports from these alleged experts of the transgender community that have been talking about equality within sports. Okay. Now I'm going to bring up a couple of my own thoughts on this. I'm actually going to bring up an expert as well named Dr. David Page. I'm going to bring up his actual biography, so you guys know what he's all about before we talk about what he has to say. And then we're going to talk about human genetics on this. We're also going to talk about what the UN actually said in the report. But first, I want to start with a high school student who blasted the district in regards to a transgender child who had assaulted who committed assault and battery against a biological female at the school, and what she had to say. So I'm going to share my screen on that. And Carrie is also going to present her thoughts as well. So you guys sit back and relax and enjoy the show, because we are about to get into some hot shit right now. Carrie, are you still there?
Or did you go? I'm here, girl. I've been looking forward to this talk all day.
Okay. Yeah, I've been looking forward to it too. I had to do my work though, but then now that I got that out the way, let's go ahead and get into this topic. So bear with me just a moment. All right, so I'm going to play this video and then, all right.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and only ladies and gentlemen it is and shall always be. I am an 18-year-old high school student and wanted to take this time to bring to your attention the current issue with biological men claiming they are women and in turn truly believing that they are entitled to use women's spaces. There was an incident within our district that occurred recently regarding a transgender woman who really is a biological man having an altercation with a young woman at MLK High School. It was infuriating when I had seen the video on social media, but what was detrimental to this is the fact that this man is and has been using the women's restroom and locker room. Firstly, the question we must address is why are we affirming the mental confusion of this boy and putting the safety of women in jeopardy by allowing mentally confused men to use the women's spaces? Of course, any male who claims he is a woman will accept it, but what about the women? What about the true girls like myself who are female down to our DNA? Why don't we ever get a say in whether or not we are comfortable with this? The truth is we aren't. The majority of us aren't, and yet nothing has been done to protect the safety of these women. I will conclude with this. It all starts with you. You are in charge of the safety of us women and the kids of our parents. So please do something about it. Thank you.
Okay. So I wanted to share that because I thought that what she said was profound. Did you want to add anything before I give commentary on that?
No, it's funny. I remember when that clip went viral, and I remember that a lot of these so-called trans activists are trying to undermine parents in the school and trying to have teachers teach children about so-called transgenderism. And their message is consistently, we need to listen to the children. We need to listen to the children, even though they're indoctrinating the children. And I brought some evidence of that. But when this child got up and spoke, they immediately wanted to dismiss her as a bigot or uninformed. And it's like, so do we need to listen to the kids only when they agree with you?
Right. Because that's my question, right? I so far I didn't see anything that she said that was wrong. I can see where some things she said could be offensive, right? But not necessarily wrong, right? And I think that it's important to kind of hear what she said and to find some balance with it, right? Because again, there's
in the words of DJ Drama, truth sounds like hate to people who hate the truth.
That's a fact, right? That's a fact. Because I think what she said was actually true and was actually medically backed up at one time, right? Yeah. It's not backed up that way anymore. I think that there's there's a lot of reasons behind that. But at the same time, it's important to keep that in mind. And also to go in, while we're going into this conversation in regards to the genetics of these, the genetic makeup of men and women and why some of these things are really a thing. She was quite passionate with the things that she said. And she said a lot of things that, that may, again, come off as very, offensive. But again, if we were having conversations like this to begin with, as opposed to being bullied into, specific ideas and specific ways of thinking, we may not have these angry women who are, jumping out the window and saying, the actual facts in regards to this, in a hurtful way, where as opposed to we can have a conversation, right? So I think that, that it's important now to kind of start with this conversation and, to say some of these things. Did you have anything you wanted to add real quick before I start on mine?
No, go off, sis.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to do is there is in the chat a link to the New York Post about this article from the UN. Okay. But before I do that, let me check on you guys' chat just to make sure you guys aren't saying anything to me. Okay. All right. So you said this was being said about 2 or 3 years ago, still no criminal case to date. Okay, just saying. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this commentary right here. And again, this is from the New York Post. This is dated October 23rd, 2024. And I do have a link to it in the channel as well as in the description. Okay. It says female athletes have lost nearly 900 medals to transgender rivals competing against them in women's sports categories, an eye-opening United Nations report has revealed. The study, titled Violence Against Women and Girls in Sports, stated that more than 600 female athletes have been bested at various events by competitors who were born male. According to information received by March 30th, 2024, over 600 female athletes in more than 400 competitions have lost more than 890 medals in 29 different sports, the report says. The replacement of the female sports category with a mixed sex category has resulted in an increasing number of female athletes losing opportunities, including medals, when competing against males. The wide-range report compiled by Reem Assalim, the UN Special Reporter on Violence Against Women and Girls, was presented to the UN General Assembly earlier this month. The paper didn't elaborate on what sporting events the medals were won or over what time frame. But the transition from female to male at age 16, hold on. Let me go back down. It says LGBT tour bans males from competing in elite competitions, but however, it did note that policies implemented by international federations and national governing bodies had allowed athletes born male to compete in women's sporting categories. Assalim went on to argue that male athletes had specific attributes, including higher strength and testosterone levels, that are advantageous in certain sports and can result in the loss of fair opportunity for female competitors. Some sports federations mandate testosterone suppression for athletes in order to qualify for female categories in elite sports. However, pharmaceutical testosterone suppression for genetically male athletes, irrespective of how they identify, will not eliminate the set of comparative performance advantages they have already acquired, she wrote. A protester demonstrates outside the arena where Leah Thomas was competing in the 500-yard freestyle final at the NAACP's Women's in Diving Championship Thursday. And that was a picture of Leah Thomas, who is a person who won a swimming meet, okay? And this person is a transgender woman, and this person was competing against women and actually won first place. And one of the women actually spoke up about it, and they wanted to ostracize this woman for speaking up about this.
Yeah, she faced a lot of consequences.
She
actually
did.
I actually was able to close one of my tabs because you brought up all the medals that women have lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some stuff to share on Leah Thomas as well. Go ahead, though.
Okay. So that was just one. And it says this approach may not only harm the health of the athlete concerned, but it also fails to achieve its stated objective. Therefore, the testosterone levels deemed acceptable by any sporting body are, at best, not evidence-based, arbitrary, and asymmetrically favor males. Assalim presented the findings as she called on the UN to implement stronger protections for women and girls in sports. The independent expert argued that open categories should be created for sports that non-invasive, confidential, and simple sex screenings are necessary to ensure inclusivity and guarantee fairness for women. Separate from the trans debate, Assalim argued that females also face what she referred to as multiple forms of violence when it comes to sports. Canadian cyclist Rachel McKinnon celebrates her gold medal at UC Masters Track Cycling World Championship in Manchester, and that's another picture. And then it says, in particular, she offered up harmful social stereotypes, pervasive sexism, and limited access to training facilities, infrastructure, and resources as examples. Women and girls already have many odds stacked against them that impede their equal and effective participation in sports. In addition, their ability to play sports in conditions of safety, dignity, and fairness have been further eroded by the intrusion of males who identify as female in female-only sports and related spaces. The report surfaced as a transgender participation in women's sports remained high on the agenda leading up to the elections. In New York alone, billboards opposing the state's proposed Equal Rights Amendment, which critics claim would allow trans athletes to compete against women in sports, have been sprouting up ahead of the November 5th ballot. Vote no to erasing women, scream one billboard outside of the New York State Fairgrounds in Syracuse. Vote no to Prop 1, November 5th. All right, so a lot to break down in that, but yeah, go ahead and talk about what you were going to say about the medals, because I have some things to say about that too.
No, I was just going to rattle off that same statistic, and for the record, that came from it's the Leah Thomas. Yeah, Leah. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Leah Thomas. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Leah Thomas. I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on.
Okay.
Leah Thomas was able to pull that shit over in. I'm gonna show some images first. Over in the America, right? In the what's the college? NCAA, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no international organizations are honoring this bullshit. This is some American political agenda that's what I consider to be a wedge issue. This transgenderism shit. It's a distraction from economics. And I think that one thing I wanted to point out that I thought, because I know a lot of stuff we're going to use will be like really similar, right? But I wanted to pick out some things I thought maybe would be I could add to the conversation.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I noticed that when you look at like liberal publications like CNN, they like to show this Leah Thomas person in photos like this where you can't see his body.
Right.
And I noticed a lot of these pictures, if you Google it, it's like these headshots where it's very close in. Right. So you can see sometimes it's not just the words, it's also the imagery. Right. So I wanted to show you another picture, this image where you can actually see him next to the women he unfairly competed against. And so that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
It is. Right. And if you look at him here. And nobody is going to tell me this is a woman. I'm more than willing to call this person a trans woman.
Right. Absolutely.
But a woman, he is not. And I wanted to go there. So luckily the Olympics and most international bodies are not honoring this American shit. I think this is kind of an embarrassment to America. It's an embarrassment to progressivism. And there's a reason why. I just want to say the early feminists, you'll hear a lot of these people who believe in this transgenderism call feminists who don't agree with it TERFs, right? Which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists.
Right.
And now there's people who are wearing that term as a badge of honor because the feminists clocked this bullshit early on. The feminists saw these men who, and there are women who call themselves trans men, right?
Yeah.
But I focusing on these men who largely are homosexual men who want to compete with straight women for the affection of straight men. And that's certainly not all of this. This is a mental illness, in my opinion. It's dysphoria. It's a misunderstanding. It's a gender confusion that for some reason it's politically being pushed onto people as an objective reality. And so I wanted to come in just to talk about how even these arguments are being framed with this imagery that they're showing. And then the most of the conversation I'm going to weigh in on is just kind of how this is affecting education or how teachers are contributing to this phenomenon of so-called transgenderism.
Okay, so go ahead, because I wanted to add, there's one thing I want to do before that. I want to talk about the biological makeup of men and women. And if I can just share that real quick, and then we'll get into.
Yeah, go, because I was going to touch on that too. So go off and then I'll come back in. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some biological makeups of men and women and how they're different. Okay. So the biological makeup of men and women differs in many ways, in a few ways, including sex chromosomes. Men usually have an X and a Y chromosome. Okay, and we'll get into that a little bit deeper in a video that I'm going to play in just a few minutes. Okay, it says while women usually have 2 X chromosomes, a gene on the Y chromosome is responsible for the development of male characteristics. Okay, so I want that to be very clear. And then also brain structure and physiology. Men and women have different brain structures and physiology due to the interaction of hormones and receptors. Now, we're talking science right now. We're not talking emotions. We're not talking feelings, right? We're talking actual physiology and actual science, okay? Scientific evidence here. Men and women have different brain structures and physiology due to the interaction of hormones and receptors, as well as genetic variables. Men may have a more lateralized brain, which is often attributed to differences in left and right brain abilities. Women may have more gray matter in their brains, which is involved with muscle control and sensory perception. Okay, so again, men and women have different roles kind of in life, and so therefore react to things differently, and our bodies are genetically react differently, and biologically react differently than the other. Immune responses as well. Women may have a higher antibody response to bacteria and viral infections than men. However, increased immunity may also lead to predisposition of women for autoimmune diseases such as lupus and things like this. It's not that men don't get lupus, but a woman is more susceptible to having lupus than a man, okay? Risk of malignancy. Men may have a higher risk of malignancy, such as in the esophagus, lung, bronchial, hepatocellular, or colorectal cancer. Susceptibility to infections. Men may be more susceptible to infections than women. And then there's other factors such as gender mechanisms that may also play a role in biological differences between men and women. Did you have anything you wanted to say about that before I get on to Dr. David Page?
What does Dr. Page touch on?
So Dr. Page actually touches on human genetics evolution and tells us how men and women are different. Okay, and he speaks on it in layman's terms, but he puts it like you can't even deny it. Okay. So.
Let me come in now and I'll tell you when I want to share my screen. Okay. So I wanted to talk about how schools are indoctrinating children with this. And I want to give some evidence on that. And then I want to talk about how this is ascientific. And then I think that'll segue good into you going into the actual science of gender. Okay. So there are laws being passed in America. For example, in California, there is a statewide gender identity and sexual orientation instruction that's statutorily mandatory for all students enrolled in grades K through 12, and it explicitly bars parents from opting out of the transgender instruction.
What?
Yeah. And I got this from, I'm reading a book right now. Here, let me share my screen so y'all can see this book. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. So got a lot of tabs open. Sorry.
No, you're
so
good.
Here's the book. It's called Irreversible Damage. And this is what I read to get ready for this talk by Abigail Schreier. And you know me, normally when we're talking about something, I just go grab the most popular book off of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this book, she's talking about the ways, these laws that are being passed, how therapists and like some of the political motivations behind this, it's not really necessarily about the welfare or what's best for children, right? So California is the only state that has such a law, but there are several states where it's illegal for people to so-called misgender people, even though we have a First Amendment right. Like there's a lot of fuck shit going on with this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind the audience, just for the sake of people who like to twist our words, that you did say in the beginning that not all transgender people are part of an agenda. I just want to repeat that, like, everybody's worthy of respect and compassion. I'm not trying to demonize any group of people. I'm talking about a gender ideology that I personally don't agree with that ideology.
Right.
So it's not against any one person. Yeah. And so they're saying how now that in certain schools, there's always been women who we learned about, those of us who went through high school in America, who were women who behaved historically as if they were men. And I mean specifically like Joan of Arc, Catherine the Great, George Eliot, Sally Ride. Like there's been these women. And now people are going back and rewriting history to call these women gender non-conforming.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's like technically isn't wrong, but this is like politicizing something. Joan of Arc, while she did lead armies, which was traditionally something that was male, she never called herself a man or believed herself to be the man. Catherine the Great had one of the greatest monarchs in the history of the world. She brought all type of reform to Russia, but at no point did she ever consider herself a man. But it's like they're trying to twist the language to make it this way.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys know this, right? Especially those of you who have younger children. But I can tell you that I have personally witnessed teachers talk about homosexuality and transgenderism in their classrooms that had all type of political posters about these ideologies in their classes. And I'm not making a statement that anybody did anything that was against the law or against county code, right? But I have personally seen this happen with my own eyeballs, is what I'm saying. And so I don't teach small children, but did you know that I wanted to share this right here? This is a very popular teaching tool that's being used in kindergarten classes all around America. It's called the genderbread person.
Wow.
For kindergartners, right? And they have all these websites. There's this other one called the Gender Unicorn. Again, these are extremely popular. People could be teaching this to your kindergartners and you don't even know about it. While they're teaching them gender identity, gender expression, sex assigned at birth, physical attraction, things that I would argue kindergartners cannot possibly understand.
Right, absolutely.
They're indoctrinating these children. This is a fact. They have questions designed in the curriculum where they're telling the girls to imagine how their lives would be different if they were boys and vice versa.
What?
Oh yeah, and I mean, this isn't individual teachers. These things that I'm showing you, these are school systems are adopting these as part of their curriculum.
Wow.
So it reminds me, we were looking at this one man's TikTok where it was this hippopotamus, and you know how I feel about people dragging hippopotamus into this fuck shit. Dressing up as a woman when it was a man and sneaking around.
Yeah.
Like this is really happening. People are really pushing this to children.
So that thing that Rev G was doing on his TikTok, what he had on the TikTok was exactly something similar to this.
Yeah, and like I said, they're creating all these resources and they're telling teachers. And what's funny is, right, this, from what I know, it says 2018. This genderbread person was introduced in 2020. It's only been out for 4 years. They're now on their 4th edition of this. Like, this shit changes every damn year. Right?
Wow.
This is the type of stuff that they are showing to literal kindergartners, and they are not necessarily telling the parents that this is happening.
This has got to be very confusing to a child.
Well, what's scary is, is it confusing, or are they just being indoctrinated?
Indoctrinated,
it's this little, right? Like they might think that it's normal to imagine that you're a girl, and how do you know you're a girl, and so yeah, what else do I have here? And then I want to give this last part. So again, this is something I looked up because I don't teach small children, but I wanted to point out that this is a direct quote from the book. It says schools that administer this instruction, and you can look both of these up, by the way. You can look up the Gender Unicorn. You can look up the genderbread person yourself to see if it's being pushed in your child's school or where it's popular. But this is a big movement that people don't even know is going on. That they're in schools telling boys that they might be girls and girls that they might be boys. This is real. There are states where they are giving children hormone blockers through the school without consulting with their parents. They have teachers and school counselors out here taking kids to doctors to get consultation about they call it top surgery, a euphemism for surgically removing a girl's breasts. Like, this is happening without parental consent.
Yeah, that is really crazy. That is really crazy.
Yeah,
and just to add to that, there is a whole there's an entire community of transgender people on YouTube that have talked about this, where they've actually went through with the full change, and they regret that change because they feel like, hey, I felt like, I was promised that I was going to feel different. I wasn't going to,
Now
I
all
wasn't
their
gonna be the same
problems were
person.
because they had the wrong genitals. Yeah, they call them
Yeah.
detransitioners.
That's what they're called. Yep.
Yeah. And this just normal, like, it's nothing wrong with being an effeminate boy. It's nothing
Right.
wrong with being a
masculine girl.
masculine girl. Like history has always had these. And again, I think we talked about this before, T Pre. I hated being a girl and coming into puberty and getting attention from boys and grown men is a very uncomfortable time for girls, especially the girls who have titties and ass. And I'm telling you, if I would have had some teacher up in my school telling me I could have got my titties removed and maybe I'm uncomfortable getting this attention because I'm really a boy, I'd have been like, hell yeah. I hate this shit.
Right.
If being a boy means I don't have to be sexually harassed, sign me the fuck up.
Well, shit, when I first had to wear a bra, I mean, I was pissed off, okay? I didn't wear one until I had to, okay? Like,
right.
I had to wear one.
Girl, I have a distinct memory of when my boobs first started coming in and I got my first training bra, and the boy's name was Chad. Last name starts with E. I'm not gonna dox him, but he bumped into me, and my little mosquito bites were so sensitive that I burst into tears, and he had no idea what was wrong with me, and I couldn't tell him. Girl, if somebody could have been like, "You want to cut them off?" I'd have been like, "Yes,
girl, hell yeah,
yes,
sign me up."
And that's what's happening to a lot of these people. A lot of little gay boys, all their friends are girls, and they want to be one. I mean, it's you as adults, we know that the adults who are pushing this on these children are predators.
I have to be
because good and well don't no child
even
want to go through puberty.
Any of this. Exactly.
Right. Like, boy or girl, if you telling me you got a puberty blocker, sign me the fuck up. Right? So it's so perverse. That's why they're trying to do it behind parents' back. But yeah, I want to give this direct quote because I think it'll lead into your next points. Well,
okay.
She's talking about these, and she gives a list of stuff they're doing in middle schools and high schools too. But I just thought I wanted to focus on the fact that they are really trying to get into these kids' heads in kindergarten.
Yeah, this is nuts.
Yeah. And she puts it, I just really like the way she put this sentence. She says, hold on, let me take that down. She says, schools that administer this instruction never acknowledge that as a scientific matter, it's gibberish. It is biologically nonsensical. Hold on. Let me give you this. Okay, so this is part of the chapter where she's talking about how the curriculum is asking children to question their gender identities, okay? So that's what she's reacting to now. She says, it's biologically nonsensical to suggest that a girl's brain, every cell of it stamped with XX chromosomes, might inhabit a boy's body. No mention is made of the fact that there are no diagnostic or empirical criteria for deciding that a biological girl is in fact really a boy. Nonetheless, this drivel is taught with the same sobriety and apparent thoroughness as facts about human reproduction and sexually transmitted disease, because they're sticking this into sex ed class. And I just really like the way she put it. Like, this is nonsense. Saying you're a boy trapped in a girl's body is nonsense. And they're teaching it in the schools like it's a fact.
Right. Like it didn't have a name at one time, just not even that long ago, called dysphoria.
Right. And she, in the rest of this chapter, she just goes on to say, like, what if we treated girls with anorexia this way? Oh, you think that you're too fat, so yeah, you should diet. Or she even brings up, do you remember that black girl who went viral? We don't even know if that was real or just for clout. She was saying she believed herself to be white and she had internalized all that anti-black racism.
Rachel Dolan.
Yeah. So we just going around listening to delusional people agreeing with the shit they're saying, because why? Like, why are we telling boys that they are in fact girls? Why is that? Why is that what we're doing? Where is the data?
when genetically and scientifically they just are not, you know.
It's a
You're
lie.
just
At
not.
the end of the day, it's a lie. Yeah.
It is a lie. Yeah. And it's something that needs to be talked about. I get that, you know, people are emotionally charged over this conversation, that people are even afraid to have the conversation. Even myself,
Yeah.
you know, I'm very reserved in the things that I really would say, you know. But at the same time, you know, it's a conversation that has to be had, especially when you have, you know, young women and young girls who are in middle school, even as low as, you know, as young as middle school, that are walking out on sports because they're refusing to go against a boy, you know, who's claiming he's a girl, you know, and they know he's a boy and he's like 6 foot tall and she's like 5'2". You know what I mean? Of course, you know, you don't want to compete against him, right? We had another one.
It's just like, how far do they want to go with this? You know, one of the things that comes up sometimes, has come up in my class, is like when we're talking about like, you know, whatever we're reading, every now and then, this question about like, why is it that girls can hit boys, but boys can't hit girls? And of course, my first thing is like, girls aren't allowed to hit boys, right? But why is there this stigma? Because in like that early adolescent age, boys and girls do still fight each other. And sometimes I have to pull them into my class. You know, they'll be on the hallway hitting each other for flirtation. And I'll be having to explain to the girls, you can't play with them like that anymore. Like, you're a young lady, it's not appropriate, right? And they'll say, well, I hit him because he hit me. And I'm like, you know, you have to set a boundary that you don't play that way. Like, here's why. And so every now and then I have to like explain to my students, not a 70-year-old man like P, you know, like 13-year-olds, that one of the reasons why it's taboo for a boy to fight a girl is because you're so much stronger than a woman that you could like literally. There's a lot of men in prison because they hit a woman and killed her by mistake. Like, that's how delicate women are. Compared to men. Like, if I was to fight a man, no matter how hard, even if you just stood there and took my punches, it's very unlikely that I could knock you out. Like, women fight each other all the time. We don't KO each other. We're just not that strong.
Right. And what gets me about this, right? And let's be real, because let's talk about a couple of things with this. Let's talk about even domestic violence, for instance, right? Where there's strong laws against domestic violence. And usually you see men going to jail over a domestic violence situation than a woman, right? Sometimes they overlook even women. Not that women shouldn't, you know, that should be overlooked, because they shouldn't. Domestic violence is domestic violence.
Agreed.
But there tends to be very much stronger laws, or
just socially it's less acceptable, right?
It's less acceptable for a man to be putting his hands on a woman, right? And it's because there's a reason for that, right? It's because of the strength in his hands. It's because of the strength in his arms, you know, the strength in his upper chest, you know, that can, you know, the girth that, you know, he uses to swing is not the same as a woman. It's just not, right? And then it goes
they can literally kill us with their bare hands. You know, like literally a man could punch a woman and her head hit the counter. Like, dude, a lot of men get murder cases off of domestic violence when they didn't mean to kill. And that was just kind of my point. These men who think they can become women and call themselves women, like, is that how far they want to go? Like, they think they can fight us, and we are not physically the equals of men. It's just an insane. Yeah.
And here's the thing to prove this, okay? Because this is what kind of puts this whole thing in the dirt, okay? Like, we don't even have to talk about Dr. David Page, but even though I will, but it just kind of puts this whole thing in the dirt. Imagine if the NFL hired women to play for the Dallas Cowboys, to play for the New York Giants, to play for the Eagles, to play for, you know, any of these teams, Kansas City, the Chiefs, you know. Imagine women on those teams. What would that really look like, guys? Right? Like, why do they have, if this is okay for transgender men, whether they're taking hormone suppressants or not, because you just cannot change the biological makeup of a person. It just is what it is, regardless of how many hormones you take. But imagine if, you know, there wasn't a WNBA, right? And there was just an NBA, and all of those women were playing for the NBA. What would be the outcome of that? Why do y'all think they don't allow women to join the NBA or to join the NFL or even the National Baseball League, right?
Right.
Where we've got men that are pitching at 100 miles an hour, right?
Right.
We got men that are like, hitting that ball and they hit it out of the stadium. You understand what I'm saying? Like imagine a woman on that field and what the outcome would be and what the carnage would look like if women were on these fields hitting these men, on these football fields. Like, imagine this, guy.
Well, that's why you have these men trying to go to women's prisons and it's no woman. Now, I was talking about this with somebody and they said, well, a woman can't go to a men's prison because she would get raped. And I'm like, so what are we talking about? She's not a man. Exactly. Like, what are you talking about?
And you notice how, and this even brings us to the conversation of transgender men, right? Yeah. How transgender men are not, you don't hear of transgender men making these gripes, right?
Right.
Oh, I want to compete with men. How come the transgender men are not jumping into the NFL, right? Or jumping into the NBA, right? They want to play for the WNBA. They don't want to play for the NBA.
Let me speak to that too. Yeah, let me speak to that because there's two things going on there. One is the obvious one that they couldn't compete physically with men, right? That's obvious, right? They would be at a disadvantage as opposed to an advantage, which is what these trans women have when they compete with women. But the second one, I think, really speaks to why the early feminists rejected transgenderism. And it's because the men who called themselves trans women were bringing their male privilege into the room. And so what was started off as a feminist conversation amongst women about women's rights, these trans women would come up in there like men, trying to bogart and take over with entitlement, feeling that they understood how to be a woman more than a woman. And in my observation, like, trans women don't tend to be that problematic because women don't have privilege over men. So, for example, a trans man is not going to walk into a room full of men and necessarily feel that they should all defer to her and listen to her. But these so-called trans women, the early feminists say that's exactly how they came in the room, that they're more of a woman and that the women should listen to them and that the conversation isn't revolved around them because they still expected these biological women to defer to them.
Right. Absolutely. And unfortunately, that is a reality. That's not something that I can sit back and pretend it doesn't happen. This happens all the time. This even happens on YouTube, right? Where you've got, some men who really feel that they are superior to women, right? And they expect women to kind of predicate to whatever they're saying, and, you just kind of follow them and learn how to be a woman from them, and it's like, well,
and
and we need counseling if we don't agree with them. Like, we should go to counseling, and get our minds right because we can't understand that they're women too,
Well, there are levels to that. Like, all of them aren't that extreme, but I'm sure you're even familiar with some of them saying that if a man doesn't want to date a trans woman, that he's a bigot, that he's doing something wrong by not wanting to date a person that calls themselves a woman, even if they still have a penis or some manufactured vagina or whatever. Like,
exactly.
So
like that's,
all
that's
of them aren't that extreme. Yeah, all of them aren't that extreme, but some of them, in fact, are, right?
Very extreme. Yep.
Well, and I'll just say too that the early trans exclusionary feminists, that's what they were saying at the time. If you read the books, they're saying like these men are not interested in joining us as sisters when they call themselves women. What they want is to be accepted as women so that they can compete with us for straight men. And at the time, a lot of those trans women were like, what? We never want to compete with you. That's not it. We're just women. And here we fast forward 50 years and they are literally trying to box us.
Exactly. And they're breaking our jaws in the process. You know what I mean? Like, because of all the force in your hand, you're trying to box me in the MMA ring. And you're literally breaking my jaw. Like, this is unheard of. It's absurd. It is violence against women.
Yeah. At what point is it just pure hatred?
It needs to be addressed. Absolutely.
Yeah. And how could you even take joy in a victory over a biological woman? Like, how much would you have to I mean, that's certainly not joining us as fellow women, wanting to beat up on us
Exactly.
and dominate us and take our medals and take our place is not
Right.
an act of sisterhood.
Now, here's the thing, and here's the thing that I would like to see, and I would actually, I guess I would, I'd watch it if they had where they had like a competitors with just transgenders. You know what I mean? Where all transgenders compete against one another. Why not? Why not? If you're proud of being who you are, I'm not understanding why there shouldn't be a separate, competition. You know what I mean? But you competing with women is it's not an option anymore.
Yeah, the
It just
assertion
isn't.
that there have been a lot of cultures, including Native Americans and some of the Indians and stuff, who had traditionally a third gender, right? That
Right.
included these people who were just like different gender wise.
Mhm.
And I agree with you. If there was a separate league, if they want to have their own space, like why not? But to
Right.
actually try to assert to me that you're a woman with a whole dick and balls is just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Like what
Yeah.
do I owe you?
Right. Yeah, I have a hard time with that. Listen, for the sake of time, guys, we are 2 hours into this video, so I am not going to play the other video. I do have a link to it in the description box, but I am going to tell you about this guy so that you understand his credentials before you look into it, because it's not just some guy, right? This is Dr. David C. Page. He is a professor of biology. He's a core member of Whitehead Institute. He's an investigator at Howard Hughes Medical Institute, okay? And his education is an MD of 1984 at Harvard Medical School. He has a Bachelor of Science at 1978 in chemistry at Swarthmore College. And he has done quite a bit of research. And he also has awards from the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the March of Dimes, Developmental Biology, National Academy of Medicine. He is a member of there. He is also a member of the National Academy of Sciences. He is the Howard Hughes Medical Institute HHMI investigator, and he is the MacArthur Foundation MacArthur Fellowship. Okay, and he has made several key publications, including quantitative analysis of Y chromosome gene expressions across 36 human tissues. Mammalian germ cells are determined after PCG colonization of masgent gonad, conservation, acquisition, and functional impact of sex bias gene expressions in mammals, intergenerational epigenetic inheritance of cancer susceptibility in mammals, mammalian Y chromosomes retain widely expressed dosage-sensitive regulators, and other publications such as the independent effects of testosterone, estradiol, and sex chromosomes on gene expression in immune cells of trans and cisgender individuals. Where is the boundary of human pseudo-autosomal region? And several other things, okay? He is a very, very impressive scientist, and I am very impressed with this guy. I already have a link to the video in the description box, so make sure you guys go over there and check that out. Do you have any final words, Carrie? Because I'm tired. I've been working all day.
Defrauded said we going 6 hours. Let's go.
Let's go, Defrauded. We coming over to you, okay?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that I'm not convinced, right? If I saw some science, then I might change my mind. But I'm not convinced that so-called transgenderism is anything more than a mental illness, right? And just like anybody else with mental illness, I don't think that people who are confused about their gender or believe themselves to be in the wrong body are any less deserving of like human dignity and respect than anybody else. But
Absolutely.
I'm also not going to be bullied, right, into believing something that I see no evidence of. So I think it's important to be able to say that, like, I'm not convinced that transgenderism is a scientific reality. Without saying, but that doesn't mean that I hate or I would discriminate against anybody. I just don't see any evidence that just because you think you're a woman, it means that you are one.
Right. And also to add to that, right, a lot of us have different beliefs and we have different things that we want and that we wish for and that we would like to have, right? but we can't step on other people to get those things. You know what I mean? We can't step on other people's rights and other people's reality, you know, in order to make our realities, you know, true, or to create our own reality, right? And one of my friends gave an example of this while I was preparing for this show, and they said something to me, and I'm going to share this with you. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but shout out to the person who sent this to me. They said, this is like if one Jewish kid who wanted to play football forced games onto Friday morning because they can't play on Fridays after the sun goes down, right? So everybody is supposed to change up their schedule. They've got to get, you know, we've got to take off from school. We've got to do everything because this one kid is not allowed out after sundown on Friday. And so therefore everybody has to change everything. You know what I mean? You can't impose on other people's rights in order to make your life complete. Okay. If your life is incomplete in some kind of way, the only one that can complete that is you, not everybody else. And it's not up to everyone else to, you know, kind of conform to your thoughts and your feelings, you know, to get you what you want, while everybody else is just kind of, you know, just sitting out there. And one final part about that, you know, there's kind of this debate online of whether or not, you know, this whole idea of transgenders using the females' bathrooms and stuff is really a problem, right? And I want to bring up one point on that, where there is several instances of people who, well, I'll say this, before this, I remember when this first started coming up with Target, where Target wanted to open up their bathrooms to same sex. Everybody just goes in any bathroom and it didn't matter. And I remember saying in a Facebook group how much that is going to turn out to be a problem, right? And I said, it's not because, you know, boys can't be harmed in the male's bathroom or anything like that. It's literally because there are predators who will particularly use that loophole to go into a bathroom and sexually assault a woman or a child. You know what I mean? They will use that actual loophole, or they will use it to their own, you know, nastiness, their own advantage, right? Where they're flashing people and stuff like this, you know, and for their own gratitude, right? Not understanding that that is putting women in a really disproportionate, harmful, you know, situation. And there were so many people that wanted to argue with me about that and fight about this. And this was years ago. But now you actually see this actually happening. There are people that even in California, there's some bathhouses out there where women where this one woman, she had brought her daughter. There's a couple of instances of this at a couple of bathhouses out there. And there's other instances too. But I'm going to talk about these two, where this one woman, she had brought her daughter and her sister to a bathhouse, and they were just chilling in, you know, in the ladies' room and just kind of relaxing in there. And this guy comes in there and he opens up his robe, and all his stuff was hanging out, right? All his dick and balls, everything was just hanging out in front of the little girl.
Talk about that too. Yeah.
And
he basically flashed them.
Yeah, he was flashing this little girl, and the mother went and complained to the people, and they were like, oh, he says he's transgender, so we have to let him in there. And they're like, I can't believe this. They couldn't call the cops. They couldn't do nothing because this guy claimed he was transgender, right? Another woman had said the same thing. She had went to a bathhouse. This was a Black lady. She had went viral about this. She had talked about this too, how this guy had walked into the bathhouse and he was just opening up his robe and leaving all his stuff hanging out and everything. She said she had her little niece with her, and, you know, her family members and stuff were there. They couldn't believe it. And they went and complained, and they were like, well, he's transgender, you know, you got to allow him in there. And it was just nuts.
Yeah, I think they ended up removing that Black lady. She got kicked out of that gym.
She got kicked out. Come to find out, there is a guy that was convicted of this because, you know, it turned out he was an actual predator, and he was running around, going up in these bathhouses, acting like he was transgender just to, for his own gratification, for like looking at these little girls and looking at these women and flashing his hard dick in front of these people and all this stuff. And these are things that cannot be ignored. Okay. Like, I understand that, you know, yes, it is not all transgender people that have these intentions, right? Right. But at the end of the day, you can't ignore the ones that do. right?
Well, it's not just
Or the
that.
ones that aren't even transgender, but they're just using that as a loophole to abuse and harm people, harm children, and harm women.
Well, who can even say who is and isn't transgender? Because these
Exactly.
people, even who are the ones who aren't predators, will look you right in your face and will tell you a woman can have a penis.
Exactly.
So I wanted to, with the bathroom one, are you familiar with the Isla Bryson case over there in Scotland?
No.
So this happened last year where Isla Bryson was a man, right, who raped 2 different women.
Mhm.
While he was on trial for this rape, he decided he was a woman and claimed that he had been a woman the whole time. Okay. While he was awaiting trial for rape, government paid for him to get a gender transition, and he demanded to be sent to a woman's prison. This is a man who raped 2 different women. So not even like just raped one woman. He's a full on, you know what I mean? Like,
Predator, yeah.
it's not like he was a drunken night, like he's a rapist, right? Demanded
Right.
to go to a women's prison. The prime minister and all these politicians came out promising people it would never happen. It's ridiculous. And I'm sorry, said he was going to get the gender transition, but then when decided he was going to call himself a woman, keep his dick and balls, and demand to go to a women's prison. Girl, they sent him to a women's prison.
What?
Yeah. His name's
After he raped multiple women?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isla Bryson. Isla Bryson. Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
And so the thing is, the football analogy is a good one, but for me, it's not so much because that would be like inconveniencing all the football players. Like women, I did a show the other day and ended up getting into talking about growing up as a woman and how men would be sexually harassing me. And even this time, I think I was about to get raped, but I was so young. I was like 10. I didn't even understand like what was being said to me because I have the luxury of having been like an innocent child. Like,
right.
I didn't know anything, right? And I talked about how my mother had even tried to explain sex to me, but I was too innocent. Like I literally couldn't. I have a memory of like, what the fuck is she talking about? Like,
right.
So, and I mean, mind you, she was trying to educate me about naughty touch. Like I knew nobody should touch my bathing suit area, but that was like it. I couldn't comprehend anything. Mother, I'd never seen the penis. I didn't know what any of this shit meant, right?
Right.
So you can't tell a woman that men won't. All women, black, white, Chinese, whatever, have the experience of being sexually harassed.
Right.
So men coming up with loopholes to come into our bathrooms, it's a threat to our safety. Like we have separate bathrooms because a lot of men by nature are predatory, whether they're transgender or not. Like society teaches men that women are objects, and a lot of men don't respect women. So to want to infringe on our sacred spaces is anti-woman, period.
Yeah, and shout out to people like Flame Monroe, who actually is a transgender woman, who is completely against stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Who really has an issue. And there's many others too, within the transgender community that do not, agree with this kind of behavior at all. And they openly and actively speak about it,
Yeah,
So,
thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, because not all of them are anti-woman, but anybody that cares about women and girls, right, is gonna want women to feel safe, period.
Exactly. Right. But you're not trying to compete with a woman, you admire women. And that's what Flame Monroe says, that he admires women. Everything he's gotten from a woman. You know what I mean? Everything he knows from a woman, and he acknowledges that, and he's not.
Then
in
is he
competition
trans? It
with
sounds
us.
like he's just a drag queen because drag queens admire women.
Well, he's not in. Well, what I mean is he's not in competition, and what he said is he's transgender.
Okay.
And then he said he's not in competition with women. You know what I mean? And that I acknowledge that. I admire that about him. I really do.
Because I love me a drag queen. Like, do you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wear that dress. Put on that lipstick. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Do you? But yes, she is transgender. I didn't know that. That's something for me to look up myself. So Flame Monroe is transgender, but is legitimately not out here trying to compete with women.
Exactly. There's several of them like that. But There just happens to be this, the ones that stand out are the ones that, are doing the most, and they are putting women in harm's way. And that is not okay. It's not.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for them because it's just like with Black people. Remember how back in the 90s, they would always be putting some dumb person on the news?
Mm-hmm.
And like, we don't have any control over that. That's what they find funny to do, right? As Black people, we're not responsible for like daytime talk shows bringing in like degenerate Black people. And I would imagine transgender people feel the same way. Like, not every transgender person is out here trying to indoctrinate kindergartners, and we shouldn't hold that against all of them, right?
Right, of course.
Because the media is going to go to the most sensationalist thing. Well, girl, I'm so glad you did this show. It's so good to have a
I am very glad that we had this talk. This is a long time coming. And like I said, I didn't know you had this conversation before. This is when me and you were beefing. So, I didn't know we had this conversation before. If you had, I would have definitely gotten in on the conversation. But I think it's a good time, especially with the UN talking about it. It's not like you can say the Democrats are talking about it or the Republicans. It's the fucking United Nations, okay? And like you said, globally, most people are like laughing at this type of shit. They are not okay with this.
Yeah, it's the decadent West. I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of people still choose like Islam. I think that like America being perceived as a Christian country and having these types of things going on, a lot of the rest of the world looks at this like as evidence of the amorality of Americans.
Absolutely. And they talk openly about those kinds of things. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
All right, girl. Well, I appreciate you coming up and hitting the link tonight. Make sure y'all, again, hit the like button on the way out. And I do appreciate everybody that came through tonight. And I will talk to you guys later. Again, peace, guys. And thank y'all again for watching.